Hi, hello, and salam structure. Let's start off with the country's background. Let's unlock China's background. China is considered to be a developed country under the economic aspects. The Chinese economy is the world's second largest economy after the United States. This is under the terms of nominal gross domestic products (GDP). China is a major exporter of goods and services that has been a key drive in the global economic growth. The Chinese currency is used in RMB. That currency is actually a fatal currency whose values determined by the Chinese government. The value has been a subject of instability due to the Chinese government where they keep it a sacred thing and trying to keep it at its value. Moving on to Japan. Japan is a highly developed country and is considered to be one of the most technological advanced nation ever compared to any other country. It has a high standard of living and highly advanced infrastructure along with a modern and industrial economy. The currency is used in Japan is Japanese yen, which JPY, the symbol. It's the official currency of Japan and is the sixth most traded currency in the world. That's big. Moving on to the impact of COVID-19 on the economic of China and Japan. Due to the pandemic, the Chinese government implemented strict lockdowns and social distancing. Both Chinese and Japanese government are going through the same thing during the pandemic. From my research, from what I found, the Chinese government and the Japanese government implemented a strict lockdown and social distancing measure that was greatly limited and it has affected the economic activities for the closures of factories, stores, shutting down public transport. So basically, as you know, factories were all shut down. You can import, you can export. All this chain distribution stopped. It slows down the products and increase the product prices.
Methodology of the data analysis. We found the exchange trade data of the past 5 years through the network data. We have used Power BI as our research software to analyze and judge the changes and trends of data by importing the data.
Hi, my name is Dini. Now let's move on to the currency status of the two countries that we've chosen. Let's start with Japanese yen. We've provided some graphs and some charts. Let's start with the variance. Okay, exchange rate of Japanese yen increases in variance value from 0.001 in 2018 to 0.009 in 2020 before fluctuating in 2021 with the variance of 0.005. The variance value continues to be in an unstable state in 2022, which is the variance value is 0.026, and 2023 with variance value of 0.004. On to the median. Let's focus on the median now. As you can see here, Japan yen grows by 0.1 annually from 2018 to 2020. 2018 being 3.7, 2020 being 3.9. The median value for Japanese yen fell to 3.8 in 2021 and it continues to drop before stabilizing at 3.3 as of 2023. Now, the maximum exchange rate. The maximum exchange rate of Japanese yen is 4.111 or 86.05%, which is higher than Chinese yuan. And although the value is higher than Chinese yuan, there is a fluctuation to the Japanese yen as of recent years. Speaking of Chinese yuan, let's move on to the data and the currency status of Chinese yuan. Similar to the slides before, let's start with the variance. Exchange rate of Chinese yuan appears to be fluctuating in variance value from 0.001 in 2018 to 0.00013 in 2021. The variance value continues to fluctuate from 2021 to 2023. Median. The median value for Chinese yuan or China yuan, has been relatively stable from 2018 to 2021, maintaining at 0.6. However, China yuan grows by 0.1 for 2022, which brings them to 0.7 in median value, before dropping 0.1 in 2023 again, which brings them to a median value of 0.6. Last but not least, the maximum exchange rate of China yuan. Maximum exchange rate of China yuan is 0.6664 or 13.95%. And the exchange rate of China yuan is lower than Japanese yen. All in all, Chinese yuan is considered to have a stable growth, even though the value is way less than Japanese yuan. Thank you.
Moving on to China's potential investment in future days. The first potential investment is technology and innovation. Based on statistics, China has been a global leader in technology with a strong emphasis on artificial intelligence, 5G, and semiconductors. Taking part or collaborating with companies involved in tech innovation, e commerce, cloud computing, and emerging technologies may present investment opportunities in China. Major players like Alibaba, Tencent, and Huawei are examples of companies that may improve China's investment under technology and innovation. The second potential investment can be done under the healthcare sector. The healthcare sector in China is expanding rapidly, driven by an aging population and increased healthcare spending. Pharmaceutical companies, biotech firms, and healthcare services providers may offer investment potential in China due to its favorable market dynamics, government initiatives, and the evolving healthcare needs of China's population. The third potential can be looked into is the consumer goods and services. As of 2022, China has a growing middle class with increasing disposable income, driving demand for consumer goods and services. By the year 2030, it's projected that China's middle class will be constitute a significant portion of the global middle class. The potential for China is that companies in retail, food and beverages, and entertainment sectors could benefit from changing habits and preferences. The final potential investment of China that I would like to mention is infrastructure and real estate. Just like any other country, China has also continued to invest in infrastructure projects, including transportation and real estate development. The rapid urbanization has driven demand for new infrastructure, housing, and commercial spaces, making it a significant driver of investment in the real estate sector. Having taken part in large scale projects may contribute to China's investment. Companies engaged in large scale infrastructure projects such as road construction, bridges, and airports stand to benefit from government initiatives and urban development plans in China.
Japan potential investment. As we all know, Japan is very on top whenever related with natural resources. As you can see from here, some of the country imported from them, which is China, Australia, and Indonesia. The example of the natural resources that they imported is metal, mineral, copper, oil, and gas. And yet, I think it's very firm position when they only specify to import it to the people who have a background of education and help, because maybe they want to do research or they just want to see how good it is. Japan demographic. We all heard that about Japan. Whenever people talk about it, people always talk about the nice thing. Maybe bad things, maybe a bit, but as it says on my point, Japan's weak demographic, being the attention or the center of the attention from the other country. Why? Because the smaller country have easier things to do, maybe things to attract tourists to come. So they want the small cities like the famous cities, which is Osaka, and they build something from it, maybe a business, a food business, a tourism business, and that's why people want small countries, and I think it's a good idea. Let's start with the third point, which is lease. This is my favorite point because even in Malaysia, if foreigner buy houses, if foreigner wants to live in a long term or short term, they would kind of have some agreement, which is a very long process. But then in Japan, says they allow foreigner to live in a long term or short term, to buy any kind of houses. And I think that's a very bold move from a country, because they know how safe their country is. And you know what? Japan is the safest country that foreigner trust on them. That's why they want to buy a house on Japan. I will conclude and shorten my word, which is in the conclusion, so that you will more understand in a simple word. Okay, Japan and China very famous, and we all know about it, and they very rapidly grows in terms of economical and business and anything, because the more and the higher that they shift, the higher technological they can afford, and they can attract more people come to their country and to have the holiday and or invest and to buy anything from them, because they got that trusted in both countries.